The torque and transmission load data are looking good.
Great. Let's proceed to the rough road tests.
You got it.
Okay, LA, crank it up, because we're getting ready to rock on this exclusive live broadcast.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your guide to the Disney parks and experiences. I am your host, Lou Mangello, and this is show number 803. And together since 2004, we've been sharing Disney magic here through the podcast, my weekly live video every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube, blog, events, newsletter, and more. And I invite you to please join the community in conversation over in the WDW Radio Clubhouse on Facebook and find everything else at WDWRadio.com. And I recently sat down with Bob Weis, the former president of Walt Disney Imagineering, at our booth at the recent D23, the Ultimate Disney Fan event. And our conversation is a deep dive into the magic behind Disney's parks and beyond with Bob, who shares his journey of nearly 4 decades of creativity, leading to the release of his inspiring new book on dream chasing. Then be sure to stay tuned for a Disney Trivia Question of the Week for your chance to win a Disney Prize package, and sign up for my free weekly email newsletter to stay connected, not miss an update, and when you do, you can grab a free copy of my 102 Things to Do at Least Once in Walt Disney World book. Please connect with me on social. I am at Lou Mangello, and if you're looking for a speaker for your event, conference, or for your business, and want to leverage lessons from the Disney parks into your business or brand, or if you want to turn what you love into what you do, head on over to LouMangello.com to learn more about speaking, workshops, and ways to take your idea to the next level. And if you like what you hear, and I hope that you do, please share the show and tell a friend. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show.
It is my absolute pleasure and privilege to be sitting with former Walt Disney Imagineering president Bob Weis, who is also the author of a brand new book about one of my favorite topics beyond Disney, which is dream chasing. Bob, thank you very much for being here.
It's so nice to see you. I'm so glad we had a chance to do this.
I did as
here
well.
Here at D23.
And the timing is perfect. This is where Disney fans get to come together. I have to imagine you coming here now really almost more as a guest than the president of Imagineering has to take on a little bit of a different feel and flavor, maybe a little bit less pressure for you than in the past.
It's more fun, less pressure. You're right. Although, I feel like the luckiest guy around, not only to have, been able to have a creative career with Disney for, upwards of almost 40 years, 4 decades of creativity, but to be able to do that and to have a new book coming out with Disney Publishing, I'm so excited about it. And to be able to have it here at D23, which is where the real fans, the fans are here.
Which is what
right?
you are and always have been, right? And I love the fact that I'm a sucker for origin stories. Like, I love the fact that your origin story begins with your early experiences at Disneyland, and maybe some of the work of the influence of your father. Talk a little bit about that, sort of your first.
Well, I grew up, Lou, here in California, Southern California, and an hour from Disneyland. And so we started going to Disneyland when I was probably too young to know what it was. And we would usually go on my birthday. So I would say my earliest memories of Disneyland probably are when I'm maybe about 4 years old or something, because Disneyland opened in 55, right? And I was born in 57. So, I saw, the evolution of the new Tomorrowland. I rode on the flying saucers the 1 year they were there. I saw when New Orleans Square opened, and then later when the Haunted Mansion opened 50 years ago today. So I really did grow up with Disneyland, and with just a love for Disneyland. And so I was lucky enough to express that, in my career, truly a love for Disneyland. And now to be able to write about it.
Yeah, so how does your passion for Disney lead to a career at Disney?
Well, I always loving Disneyland, and I went to architecture school at Cal Poly, which is in Pomona, which is also, less than an hour from Disneyland. And a lot of the students I found out had part-time jobs, summer jobs, part-time jobs at Disneyland. And so I said, well, what the heck, I'll apply. And I got a job out there. And I thought I was going to do some high-tech, cool, run the Pirates of the Caribbean or, head of entertainment parades or something like that, And they handed me my little envelope and it said, you're going to be a ice cream popcorn guy. And I'm, what? That's the best I could possibly get here. But I ended up loving it. Because when you do ice cream and popcorn, you're on the street all the time. You're out there with the guests. And you get to change your position every day. So you're in Fantasyland one day, Tomorrowland another day. And there's a kind of a bubble over Disneyland. People are nice, they're polite, and if you're really with it and you're really nice to people, they're nice to you. So I learned a lot. And I think becoming a park designer, as much as I learned in architecture school, I think I learned from seeing Disneyland, from standing there all day and seeing how people move, how people went through the castle, how they route, how they direct themselves. I think it was a really great experience.
And I'm sure you probably didn't realize at the time how much you were learning about customer service, customer experience, and then eventually lessons that you would be able to turn around in terms of making them leadership lessons as well.
Yeah, I think you learn that people, we're talking about Disneyland, but I'm sure there's many things like this where it's important to people that they're going somewhere, right? They're going to a dinner or an event or something. And it definitely is important when people go to Disneyland. And so you learn that this could be, a lifetime trip for them. This is really important to them. So your interaction with them, just because you might have a bad day, this is their trip to Disneyland, right? So the cast member really has to be on it all the time. You have to be really giving yourself all the time. And that's the fun of it. And it's why people are dedicated cast members. And it's why people love the parks, I think, is I remember seeing when I was president of Imagineering a lot of data, but one of the data points I remember was that among the highest things, if not the highest thing that people rate at Disneyland is an interaction with a cast member. It rates as high, positive interaction with a cast member is almost as high as an interaction with a character, a costume character. So those cast members are the ambassadors of Disney.
Right. I read somewhere that, the average guest has 60 plus interactions with a cast member a day, and each one of those is an opportunity to make a magical moment, right?
It is a magic.
Yeah.
It is your opportunity to make a magical moment. And sometimes, you're sitting there and you realize there's this couple and they have a child who, for whatever reason, is disabled or has been ill or something. You can tell this is like, they're going out to Disneyland. This is a really important, amazing thing. So you want to do everything you can to make everybody's visit the best day of their life.
And I think one of the things that I love too is that, and I'm sure you saw this too, working popcorn ice cream, is that no matter your role, every cast member is empowered in order to help make some of those magical moments. And that's one of the things that I love about the overall philosophy and culture of Disney, is that you are all magic makers. Like, it's about, saying yes and making those moments that a guest is going to remember more than riding, Pirates of the Caribbean. You can remember that magical moment that a cast member made for you and your family.
Yeah, and that it brings it to life. So much of Disney, and I write a lot of this in my book, is about caring about the guests. It's about, and it's probably the two most important words in the Disney lexicon, Disney Parks, lexicon are, we refer to us as cast members, and the guest. They're not customers, they're not visitors, they're guests. And so once you decide they're guests, you're really, what you have to do. as a guest, right? And in the case of Disneyland, I'd say they're almost like family, because this is, and you live in Orlando, these are people who know each other. People who come to Food and Wine every year. Right. They know their people. They come to the garden show at Disneyland. They come to see World of Color. They know each other. They come to the same restaurant. It really is almost a family in that sense too.
And so I love the title of the book, right? Because I think when I first started, I was like, oh, this is about Bob chasing his dream. And it's not. It's about you helping to teach others chase your dream. And I even sort of interpret it as you helped sort of fulfill Walt's dream when you went to go work on some of your early time at Disney. And I guess your first job at Imagineering was going to work on the Epcot project, right?
No, I worked on the Tokyo project. On the Tokyo project at the time that Epcot was going on. But I did work on Epcot eventually too. But dream chasing is, I wanted to try to capture that these things that our guests love when they come to the parks don't just happen. And I know guests know they don't just happen, but they don't necessarily know the circuitous route it takes. And if you think of something, and I wanted to encourage people who have ideas, whether they're Disney ideas or not, who have ideas, have dreams about things. It is a great thing to have dreams, but you have to be willing to really keep going and keep pushing them or chasing them to make them happen. And in the case of a big thing like a Disneyland attraction or Shanghai Disneyland or something like that, Tokyo Disney Seas, any of the projects I've worked on, not only do you have to believe it, but you have to get a big group to believe it too. I had 720 people on Shanghai Disneyland at one point. You have to bring all those people together, and they all have to believe it, and they all have to be willing to work really, really hard for 5, 6, 7 years to make something happen. And as I say in the book, that sometimes things happen because you work really hard on them and they're the right idea. Sometimes you work hard, they're the right idea, and they don't happen, and anything in between. So you have to have passion. And I hope that people who read the book will send me notes about their dreams and what they, what passion they have for them. Because I feel like more and more we live in a creative world and a creative economy, and everybody has to have dreams, right? But they're not easy. They're not. I spoke to a person in marketing at Walt Disney World. I'm sure you know a lot of those folks. She said, we'd find out we were going to market some new thing, and we found out about the time it was finished. And we didn't always think about the fact that this thing started 6 years ago. Somebody's been living this thing. You talk about, almost anything that you can think of, 3 or 4 years at least. A whole park, maybe 6 years. That's a long time to stay with something.
One of the things that I find so interesting about your career, you mentioned the fact that you went over to Tokyo, you worked in Shanghai, Epcot, the studios. Talk to me a little bit about how the cultural influences of working in the Asian market and Tokyo, where, especially in places like Tokyo, where it's such a service-based culture. Talk about some of the influences on you, how you brought that to what you were able to impart to not just the cast members in those parks, but in the domestic parks as well.
I think I was lucky that the first job I had was Tokyo Disneyland, because it gave me a very global focus to Disney, and Disney is a very global thing. That one time when we had an interview with some people in Shanghai, and one of the guys spoke up and he said Disney does not belong to America. Disney belongs to the world, and we always took that focus. And if I could take you right now to Shanghai Disneyland, you'd be amazed, because it has built the same kind of culture that exists at Tokyo Disneyland or Disneyland. It's amazing. And it just tells you that the ideas behind Disney, the stories, the ethics, the vision behind it, goes to different places, and it becomes adopted by those other cultures. It becomes theirs. One of the great lines that include in the book is when Bob Iger came up with this way to describe Shanghai Disneyland as we're going to do something which is authentically Disney but distinctly Chinese. And when you put the two together, you realize Tokyo Disney Seas is different than Shanghai Disneyland, is different than Paris. They're amazing sort of the coming together of people and culture. And Disney is such a great way of doing that. In the divided world we live in so much today, what a wonderful thing it is that we have Disney to bring us together on common ground. Look at you looking around here. You couldn't have more different people here today, right? And they're all accepting of each other.
So you have, this incredible experiences both on the domestic parks and the overseas parks. Talk about how that influences your vision, your leadership style, and some of the ways you approach the, monumental task of leading Walt Disney Imagineering.
I think that Walt Disney Imagineering, first of all, as you know, Lou, a very special organization, not one of a kind organization, started by Walt himself, and an organization that requires collaboration. It requires all these different talents, technical talents, artistic talents, story talents. And, I think at last count, it was something like more than 100 different disciplines of Imagineers. And it always changes because now it's, AI and, so many different things. So everybody processes different, everybody works different, and yet you have to get everybody together. And one of the great quotes from Walt that I put in the book was that he said it was like walking 8 dogs. Dogs go wherever they want to go, right? But he had to somehow sort of keep all those dogs going in the same direction. And it's a lot like that. But you have to, you don't want to limit people's talents because everyone is uniquely talented. But you do want to try to get them all going in the same direction. It's hard to do. Fun, but hard to...
Right. And one of the things that I love about... let's go take a step backward first. And again, I could ask you questions for hours about your career at Disney. We don't have that time. But I do want to talk specifically about the book and what was your inspiration to write and sort of what was the process of taking all these decades of experience and bring it down to this size.
Well, I didn't want to write necessarily an autobiography, but I did want to write how my personal experiences led to, working at Disney and loving Disney. But what I really wanted to do was take different projects that demonstrated this idea of dream chasing and what it takes to go through the months or years that it takes to sell an idea, to get everybody behind it. And take really good examples of that. And I even used I thought one important example that I don't think anyone has written about yet, which was Disney's America, which was to be in Virginia. And, a lot of people had a lot of passion for it, including guests in Virginia who wanted their own park, on the East Coast somewhere. And sometimes you work really hard and it's just not the right idea. In that case, it was probably the wrong location. It was,
it was a learning opportunity.
But it was a learning opportunity. And it was done at a time when the company didn't own National Geographic and ABC News and a lot of things that could have been great assets to a project like that. So I didn't want to just write about successes. I also wanted to write about things that are hard. And you have to, sometimes you put things away. You work on them for a while. You might work on them for a few years. And you put them in the drawers. And what you have to do is you have to just get up the next day and start with a fresh idea.
One of the things I liked as I went through the book was the amount of personal reflection that you talk about in the book. And I tried to think about the process. And I'm not going to ask you what was the favorite thing that you worked on? Maybe I'll eventually get to it. But it made me think, like, as you revisited all these different projects and milestones that you've worked on, was there any sort of particular moment or project that took on like new meaning or new perspective for you as you're writing the book and sort of with your hindsight being 2020?
I think there's a couple. I mean, one example I'll give you is from Shanghai, or is from Tokyo, because I started my career in Tokyo, and then I had an opportunity to work on the second park in Tokyo. And we had done the Disney MGM Studios, you remember, in Florida. It had had a huge first summer, huge first year, expanded quickly. And Michael Eisner thought it was a perfect thing to add to Tokyo Disneyland. And we worked really hard on that to try to make it work. And somewhere in there, we always could tell that they didn't like it. That the movie business is just different for them. And they wanted pure Disney. They weren't interested in showing something behind the scenes. They were interested in like Disney, fantasy, right? And so after all this work and all this time, they finally admitted that they didn't like the idea. And so we kind of like, you come back to go, it's like I said, you could roll it up, put it in the drawers. And this little team that I had, we literally got together that weekend and we said, we're not going to give up. We're going to try something else. And we're going to try it like immediately. And that's when Tokyo Disney Seas was born. It was born literally over a long weekend.
Wow.
And we had it in front of Michael Eisner, Frank Wells, Marty Sklar within a few days. And we had it back over to Oriental Land Company, TDL, within a month or so. But sometimes you have a hunch that there's an idea there, we just don't have the right one yet. And it could have been easy to just give up, right? But we didn't. We don't. One thing about we say about Imagineers is we take our fun very seriously. So for a group that manufactures fun and joy and love, we work pretty hard, and everybody's passionate.
Well, and I like the fact it's one of, I think, many lessons that a reader can extract from the book. From adversity lies what I think is the best opportunity. I am the biggest Tokyo Disney Sea fan.
Yeah.
I think it is the most spectacular park. I think it's some of Imagineering's best and most beautiful work.
Yeah, it is.
To hear that it happened because something else couldn't, again, for people that sometimes encounter challenges, I think that's a great takeaway. And I think as I was reading it, I would talk a little bit about the lessons for readers, because I think the book applies to us as who are Disney fans, but I think it applies from a business perspective as well. Like, I think it's a great book for leaders, right? For business owners, whether you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, or a Fortune 500 executive.
Well, I was very lucky I got Bob Iger wrote a foreword, which is certainly about Imagineering, but it's also about creativity, business, innovation. And Simon Sinek, who is a great speaker in terms of creativity and innovation in companies. I reached out to Simon, and he wrote a little piece for the back cover. And I was exactly trying to do that. I was trying to communicate that the book I think has a lot of value for anybody who's in business, or anybody who's trying to create a business or run a business, whether it's a retail business or a restaurant or a design business, that it is all about that passion and how you get a lot of people together to try to do things. And that you can have great ideas, or great dreams in this case, but if they just sit there, they just sit there. So a lot of leadership in business or creativity or innovation is about getting people to follow through and make things happen and figure out how to do it, even if you don't have money, if you don't have time, if you're tired, if you're, a lot of leadership is getting a lot of people to always have passion to push their ideas forward.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of having passion-based businesses, ideas, paths, whatever it might be. Because it also makes your job, the job that you're doing, not feel like a job. That's why I think there's just so much.
And there's always new challenges. I'm sure this is with you. You've been doing this for a couple decades now. You always have a new challenge. Think of how we all went through, somehow survived COVID. When I write about this in the book too, when I became president of Imagineering, I thought, well, I had just done Shanghai Disneyland. And that was 7 square kilometers, subway stations, hotels, the park, all that. It's like, I'll just figure that running Imagineering is kind of like 4 or 5 Shanghai Disneylands going on at once. And it didn't turn out to be that. It turned out to be COVID. It turned out to be George Floyd. It turned out to be so many other things that and I kind of thought, well, leadership is not about knowing how to do the things that you need to do, at least in my mind. It's not just about knowing how to do it. It's about knowing how to approach the things you have no idea what to do. Who could have ever thought every park in Disney, every game on ESPN, every store, everything would be closed? You couldn't even imagine, right? And yet, every project that we had, all the billions of dollars worth of projects that we were adding to here, to in Florida, California, Paris, everywhere we were adding, that were all put on hold. As of the opening of Fantasy Springs in Tokyo, everything's been finished. Everything started again. Everything got finished. But that was a lot of management to figure out how, so, but again, you have to believe in it. And you have to believe in the unexpected. You never know what might hit you.
Right, you have to believe whether you're leading a team of hundreds or just say you're able to sort of execute on the thing that you want to do.
Right.
Again, Bob, I have countless questions and follow-ups I'd love to, but we are have only a limited amount of time. The book is a treasure trove of not just great stories from your career, people that you work with, the building of teams as well as the building of parks. You are signing it here at D23, the Ultimate Disney Fan Event, and is going to be available for order in late September, correct?
It's available for pre-order right now.
Okay.
You can go on Amazon, you can go on Disney.com. I mean, and I was so excited. I was so excited when I find myself on Amazon, but I was really excited to find myself on Target. It's amazing.
Of all the things that you did, you feel like you made it when you're on Target.
So there's a limited amount of books here at D23. A lot of lucky folks who will get them for the first time. But on the 24th of September, it's widely available. It's like I said, it's already up in pre-sale. And another thing I'll tell you is everybody we're talking to, everybody in your market has got an independent bookstore someplace or a bookstore in their town. Go look them up. Go in the bookstore and say, hey, could you pre-order this book for me? They will. They'll order it. And we all love bookstores. If this hasn't taught me anything else, it's taught me the love of books still. Print is not dead. Print is still there. Something about holding it.
It's still a tactile.
So if you can do it, please go out and pre-order it in a bookstore. And I hope to see a lot of folks here at D23 in the next couple of days too.
Yeah, it is a fascinating read and really great insight, not to your personal journey, but the company as well. Last question: what is next for Bob Weis? I don't mean just tonight, but just in general, what's next for Bob?
I advise companies around the world on some of the big urban problems of our day. Global warming, sustainability, design. I'm doing a lot of that, and I'm writing another book. And I'm out here working with Disney Editions because we have another book we want to do, and we've got a massive book for your fans out there that know Marty Sklar, who spent 50 years running Imagineering, designed Epcot, worked with Walt. We have a massive archive at Imagineering of Marty's collections, and I'm talking about from 1955 to when he retired 50 years later, having worked on all 12 and had been at every park opening. So we've been digitizing, organizing, and scanning this 2.5 million documents that Marty has that go back to the World's Fair. I mean, everything. So there's a massive book that's being put together. That's a project I'm working on next.
We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, we'll do that at next D23. We'll have to be doing that.
All
right. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you so very much.
Thanks to everybody.
It's time for this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge, where I test your knowledge with a little bit of trivia, history, or ask you to identify where in Walt Disney World you may have heard a sound, song, or quote. Enter and answer correctly, and you could win a Disney prize package. And this week's trivia contest is sponsored by the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic, happening again November 15th through the 16th. It is not just an event. It is this celebration of food and drink like no other. It is my favorite foodie event, not in Orlando, but anywhere. It's celebrating its 15th anniversary this year, and it's bigger than ever with more than 45 different delicious dishes, 170 drink options, including rare wines and craft beers. There are a ton of new food items this year and returning favorites from restaurants like Shula's and Todd English's Blue Zoo. And did I also mention there are interactive seminars? So whether you're diving into the craft beer scene, want to master wine pairings, or learn the art of crafting the perfect cocktail, the seminars are both fun and informative. Plus, there's live entertainment, special ticket packages, because this year they're offering a special 15th anniversary deal, including 15% off when you attend both nights of the festival on Friday and Saturday night, which you should do because there are different menu items for different nights. This event is perfect for food lovers, for wine enthusiasts, or if you just want to spend a nice night out with friends and family. It is my favorite can't miss event of the year, and I want you to join me Friday and Saturday, November 15th and 16th. Trust me, you do not want to miss this. You can get your tickets now at foodandwineclassic.com and come join me for an incredible weekend at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin. Now, before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week I asked you to tell me what was the very first Walt Disney World hotel to be built outside of the Magic Kingdom Resort area. Now, the key here was outside the original Magic Kingdom Resort area. So the Contemporary opened October 1st, along with the Polynesian. The Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground opened on November 19th. Shades of Green opened in December of 1973. The Grand Floridian opened in 1988. Those were all sort of in that Magic Kingdom Resort area. Outside that area, the very first resort to be built was, congratulations, you got this right, the Caribbean Beach Resort, which opened in 1988 on October 1st. I took all the correct entries, randomly selected one. Last week, you were playing for a WDW Radio keychain, stickers, pin, and a mystery item from my collection. And last week's winner, randomly selected, is Janine Boyer. So Janine, congratulations. I have your shipping address. I will get your prize package out to you right away. And if you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So this week, we're going to go from the resorts to the parks, because I want you to tell me what was the very first attraction at Walt Disney World to feature characters from Pixar films. The very first standalone attraction at Walt Disney World to feature characters from Pixar films. You have until Sunday, September 29th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to go to WDWRadio.com, click on this week's podcast, use the form there. Again, you're going to play for the keychain, the stickers, the pin, and I have a very, very cool mystery item that I'm going to include this week. So good luck and have fun. Thank you so very much for taking the time to subscribe and tune in this week. I apologize. I know the audio was a little wonky. The show floor at D23 was loud and we were having some technical issues, and I tried to sort of clean it up best that I could for you. But I would love to know from you. I was thinking about my conversation with Bob and the many different roles that he had during his time at Disney. What role in the Disney parks would you want and why? Come be part of the community and conversation over in the Clubhouse on Facebook at www.radio.com/clubhouse. And if you're enjoying the show, please help support it for as little as $1 per month by being an important member of the WDW Radio Nation. You not only help bring the shows and live broadcasts to life, but you also get exclusive rewards like scavenger hunts, group video calls, and surprise care packages from the parks. Plus, you're helping to support our Dream Team project, which has raised more than $550,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. To learn more and join the Nation family, you can visit www.radio.com/support. And I am incredibly grateful for your friendship and your support and can't wait to welcome you into the Nation. Don't forget to join me this and every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for WDW Radio Live. You can watch on Facebook. You can watch on YouTube as we talk about everything in the Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars universe. We can talk about my conversation with Bob. This week, let's talk about about Agatha all along on Disney Plus. I have a lot to discuss and share and speculate on. Please also connect and chat with me on social. I am at Lou Mongello on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I still believe that nothing beats a handshake and a hug. So check out our events page at WDW Radio.com for our next Meet of the Month in Walt Disney World, as well as 3 different adventures by Disney in 2025. We still have 1 spot left for our trip to Japan in May. We have 2 spots left for our Adventures by Disney to Disneyland and Southern California over the summer. And we have a few spots left for our Adventures by Disney River Cruise on the Seine, and then a trip to Disneyland Paris in September. I also have some on-the-road meetups and events planned. Again, you can learn more and get a free no-obligation quote to join us on any or all of our adventures and cruises by going to mousefantravel.com. And no matter where you want to go, whether it's with us or on your own, they are my trusted partner for more than, I think it's 18 years now. They handle all the planning so you can focus on making the memories. They offer free, completely free vacation planning services. And really, it's the incredible level of personal care and service that they give every one of their clients that is the Mousefan Travel difference. You can visit mousefantravel.com for a free, no-obligation quote today. And if you like the show, and I hope that you do, please take a minute to rate and review the show over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you know somebody who loves Disney as much as you do, please send them a link this episode, share it with a friend via text, DM, or on social. And as always, my friend, and you are my friend, whether we have met yet or not, I am sincerely grateful to you and for you. I hope that you have a great day and an even better tomorrow. And remember to go out, be kind, and choose the good. I love and appreciate you. So until next time, see ya.
Hello, Lou. This is Lori Tucker from Columbus, Ohio. I just have to reach out and tell you, as I've told you before, how important you are to so many people. I just finished listening to your solo episode, and it took my breath away, to be honest with you, because you talk about being authentic, and I know it's not a buzzword for you, because I've had the pleasure of meeting you a couple of times and cruising with you, and it's been just a pleasure to know you on a very superficial level. But I want to tell you, you said something that has meant so much to me, and it comes across in so many ways every single episode. You said in this episode, you matter to me. And now I can hear my car. Anyway, you matter to me. And you do matter to me, Lou. What you do is very special. You do reach across the internet, and you talk to people, and you remind us that we are important. And in times where some of the time we're always saying, oh yeah, I'm fine. There are so many people that are hurting. And it's so good to be able to hear you matter. And so I want to return that favor and remind you, you really matter. You are important to us, and we love you, Lou. We thank you so much for sharing your life. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Hi, Lou. My name is Tracy from Minnesota, and I love your podcast. I absolutely have the best memories of If You Had Wings from when I was a child. I just listened to your podcast of the things that you miss, and that is a core memory for me. I'm 55 years old. I started going to Disney World in the 70s. I think I went probably when I was 3 or 4 years old, and then went a handful of times as a child, and now many times as an adult. And thank goodness my children are into it as well. But I just wanted to tell you, your mentioning of If You Had Wings and that tunnel is an absolute core memory of my childhood and how cool that was. I was fascinated with that, as well as early Epcot. I went to Epcot, I think 6 months after it opened, was fascinated by all that technology. I'll never forget it. Thank you so much for doing what you do with these podcasts. It gets me through days. It is my calming. It is my relief after a long day. I've been a teacher for 30 years, and it's a tough job right now, as we know, and you make it a lot easier at the end of each day. So thank you so much.
Hey Lou, it's Patrice Verdi from Metro Boston. I am calling because last night's show on the Tower of Terror was so excellent. I've already heard it twice, and it's only Tuesday morning. But I have a beef with you. Why was it only an hour? I could listen to you and Kendall Foreman nerding out for many, it was like, what is it, podcast turned into a pumpkin or something after 1 hour? I was like, no, I want to hear you two nerding out more. You were having a real nerd fest, and it was great, and I hope you have her back to talk more about that, because about the Tower of Terror and the Twilight Zone and everything, because she's wonderful, and you two are really great together, and it's always fun to listen to you. You asked what other people's favorite Twilight Zones were. Mine is definitely To Serve Man, because it doesn't get better than that, and you spoiled it for her. Eye of the Beholder and Nothing in the Dark was a very young Robert Redford playing the Angel of Death. So I hope you do that more. I mean, that's to name only 3. There's so many great ones. I told my husband this morning about last night's podcast, and he was talking about the one with the cornfield, which I've never seen. The couple came up that I had not heard of, which I'm going to look into. So more with you and Kendall on the Tower of Terror, Twilight Zone, anything really. Take care. Bye.